welcome to a special edition of A Valid Answer. Oh my gosh, we got to switch sides.
Oh,
Because our
yes,
names
we
are
do.
wrong on
We're
the screen.
wrong
There we go.
sides.
Normally I'm on this side of the screen, so our names are right underneath us. Well, I'm Scott. I'm Pastor Scott Garcia. This is my friend Marshall, the Atheist.
Hello.
And, we're coming at you every week on currentcast.com right here at 5 o'clock on Sunday nights. We have a special event tonight. We are here because what you don't know is that we actually record. I'm looking at the TV. I should be looking at the camera. Rookie mistake
Right,
for a camera operator.
noob.
We actually record here at New Life Church in my office, and the green screen connected to my office. And on Sunday nights at 7, here's a nice little plug for the young adults group. The what's it called? AVA, young adults group here at New Life. 7 o'clock, you guys meet here usually? Yeah, so we're leaving as they're coming in, and we thought, hey, one of these times we should do like a question and answer, almost kind of like you see like on Reddit or something like that,
Right.
ask me anything type thing. So it's like, well, hey, we have an atheist here and a group full of Christians. Let's do a Ask an Atheist Anything night. So here we are. We can pull back on the camera shot here. We're here at AV and at New Life on Sunday nights, and we're doing a special recording. We have the young adults group here with New Life, and we have our resident atheist, Marshall. So if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask an atheist, if you just raise your hand, I'm going to come down with the microphone just so we can get it on the camera, not to put you on the spot. It could be anything. We can start with easy, softball, just give them a nice little.
What is 2 plus 2?
Yeah, any questions? Who's brave to go first? Okay, here.
Well, I do want to make a quick statement.
Okay, go ahead and make a statement.
There's that. I also want to add to any of you watching this, since you'll be watching this after we recorded it, wherever this is posted, feel free to post questions to me there. And if any of you here in the audience, because you're going to go home tonight, and right when the lights go out, you're going to think, oh, why didn't I think of that? Feel free to pop onto our page. It's A Valid Answer. It's on Facebook. And put your question to me if you like. And we will see it, and I will do my best to respond.
Because we respond to those after the fact, too. We go live, and people send in posts while we're having our podcast sometimes, or they come afterwards, and then we go ahead and answer those questions or comment on all those. So.
Okay, now one other thing, and this is very important. Anytime you're in a debate or a discussion with somebody, it becomes very hard to separate yourself from your question. And what's going to happen is some of you are going to pitch some questions to me, and I'm going to respond, that's a fallacy. Or I might sound like I'm being mean to you, and I'm not trying to be intentionally mean. I want you to understand that I am addressing the argument and not you. And if I shoot down your argument or your question or what have you, and I don't know what's going to be pitched at me, it doesn't mean that I think that you're dumb or that you're uneducated or anything like that. I don't want you to feel that way. But anytime ideas clash, it is natural for people's feelings and emotions to get kind of caught up in the discussion. And I want you to understand that I haven't met any of you, but I think you're great people. You look like great people. Scott has assured me that you are kind and you do not bite.
They've left all their weapons.
They've left their weapons at the door. So I am sure you are fantastic and wonderful people, and I am pleased that you are here. I am touched that you've given me your evening to ask me questions and speak to me. And so I want to say thank you very much. So I'm sending some love to all you all out there. And please understand that we are here to answer questions and have the ideas clash. We are not here to put each other down or insult anybody or anything like that. And I hope I don't come across that way. So big asterisk there. So I'm good
all right.
to go.
Sounds good. Would you mind standing? Tell us your name and ask Marshall your question.
Hi, Marshall. I'm
Hi.
Alexis.
What's your name?
Alexis.
Hi, Alexis. That's a cool name.
Thanks. Okay, so I think maybe this is an easy question to start off with. Do you believe that there are good and bad people? Just because I think just as Christians we believe that there's good in everyone because that's how God created us, and He has an image that we aspire to live up to. But I just want to know your perspective. Do you believe that there are like some good people and some bad people, or what's your take on that?
Thank you. That's a great question. I have an opinion. I have lots of opinions, and I form opinions about people, and I do think some people are good people. I think some people are bad people, and there are very few people out there that probably need some killing. They're really bad dudes, And I don't think people are necessarily inherently Good or bad, meaning that you are not, you don't come into this world as either a good or a bad person. You come in as a blank slate, and the choices you make you into a good or a bad person. Now, if you feel you are a bad person and you want to be a good person, it's very simple. You stop doing bad things. And the instant you stop doing bad things and begin to replace those bad things with good things, you become a good person. Now, to get at the heart of your question, which is a person is there objective good or evil, good or bad? And I don't believe that there is. So for me, the answer to the question is it's a matter of opinion, that each individual will have their own opinion of you or of me or of someone else, and they will conclude this person is good or this person is bad, and that's that. I do not believe there is any cosmic yardstick by which we can measure people, like you have to be this high to ride heaven. You know, it's not like that. You know, to get into heaven, you have to be this high. You know, have to have this much good. No, there's no cosmic yardstick in my personal belief that makes a person good or bad. Your goodness or your badness is subjective, and it's based on the choices you make.
Do you have a follow-up to that, or? Okay.
It's a
Cool.
great
Another
question.
great question.
A very
Good.
good question.
Good way to start off. Anybody have another question? Yes. Go ahead and stand up and tell us your name and ask your question to Marshall.
Hi, my name is Francis Beneventi.
Hi,
Alexis
Francis.
started us off with
I like the name Francis as well, by the way.
Thank you. It's a saint.
Yes,
from
Saint
the
Francis
Bible.
from the 12th century, Italy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
he reformed the Catholic Church's monastic system because he brought a whole new mindset of poverty and charity and goodwill towards one another. And yeah,
Is that why Pope Francis has chosen?
yes, yes.
Okay, so Alexis started us off with something like really specific. I wanted to start off, go with something a little more broad. To you, what does it mean to be an atheist?
It's actually quite simple. I do not believe that a God exists. And that's all it means. It doesn't mean that I subsequently believe in evolution or the Big Bang, although I do believe those are the most rational explanations we have for the phenomenon that we see in the universe and all that. But atheism is, a lot of people like to impute certain beliefs to atheism, say that, well, if you're an atheist, then you must believe that we came from monkeys, which is not true. That is not something that comes along with atheists. When you become an atheist, there is no book that is handed to you and said, well, here's the rest of what you believe. Atheism is simply the rejection of the claim that a God exists. In fact, all of you here are atheists. You just don't know it. You're atheists when it comes to Islam. You're atheist when it comes to Hinduism. You're atheist about the Greek or the Norse gods. You don't believe in any of those gods. You're atheist in those religions. So I go simply one God further, and I am atheist also in the Christian religion. So that's all atheism is. It is a rejection of the claim, the statement that a God exists. I do not believe in my heart. I do not believe that there is any such thing as a God.
Do you have a follow-up to that, or
Why?
Great follow-up question. Thank you. The reason why is I have not seen evidence that a God exists. Evidence that convinces me. You know, a lot of people say, well, you look at the sunset, that's evidence, or you look at the design in the universe, that's evidence, and all these other things that people point to as evidence. And for me, all of those things have convincing, rational, alternative explanations, even down to the beauty of a sunset. It has a scientific explanation. So I like to apply a thing called Occam's razor to my thinking. And Occam, has anyone here heard of William? Yeah? What is it? What is it? Do you know what it is?
It's the simplest. Two?
There you go.
Isn't it the simplest answer is usually the correct answer?
Correct. Yes.
I got that from House.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That's great.
Occams or Occams?
I've heard it pronounced both ways. But anyway, he was a monk. He was a Catholic monk, I think in the 12th century, I believe, or thereabouts. And basically, whenever there's two competing explanations for a phenomenon, the simplest one is to be preferred. And so it is simpler to believe, in my opinion, that a scientific explanation takes care of the scattering of the rays of light which creates the rainbow, versus the scattering of the ray of light is caused by a God, which is an additional layer of complexity that is simply unnecessary to explain the phenomenon. So, in my opinion, it has not been demonstrated to me sufficiently that a God exists, which is why I choose to be an atheist.
Who wants to try another question or something that's been ringing in your head, or maybe an answer that he gave that you weren't satisfied with? Tell us your name and your question.
Hi, my name's Courtney.
I hate that name. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's a great name. It's a cool name. Thank you.
This is kind of simple, but it leaps off of his just a touch.
Sure.
Okay, so similar to y'all, my oldest friend is also an atheist, always been an atheist our whole friendship. And she'll often, when she's going through a hard time or something bad happens in her life, she has a moment where she's like, pray for me, ask the big man upstairs. And I don't know how much she means that or if that's just how she communicates it with me, but I was curious if you have those moments where if you're going through something bad, something in the back of your head's like, hey, man, will you pray for me? Like, I don't know what to do.
That is an outstanding question. I have had those moments, and sometimes I've been angry. In fact, my path to atheism includes a moment like that. And in my opinion, God did not respond, or he did not respond in the way that I wished for God to respond. And that caused a lot of anger in my life. And that also caused me to set out on a path of exploration and discovery. And at the end of that journey, I became an atheist. I looked into a lot of different religious philosophies. I was trying to find the answers. Why would God let me suffer when here I am, I'm this good Christian, I'm a good guy, and then God is letting me suffer. And so it's a little personal there. But ultimately, I almost forgot the question.
Do you ever have those moments now,
Yeah.
even now? What do you do in those moments?
I don't think I really have those moments now. I used to. I might say for somebody to pray for me or something, but it's a little facetious. I would imagine in your friend's shoes, she's asking for empathy. She's asking for someone to share her pain. And one way that she connects to you is through your faith, because obviously your faith is important to you. You wouldn't be here tonight. And she knows that about you, and she's asking for you to connect with her. And a lot of us atheists do have, I don't want to speak for all atheists, I personally have a private hope that I am wrong. It would be nice to go to heaven and to see my dad again, and my ancestors and other people who I care about. I have my mom still. I won't have her forever. Wouldn't it be nice to spend eternity with all of these people? I have that opinion too. That would be really nice. I wish it were true. I wish there was a God who served justice, because there are people in this world who do terrible things. And I wish there was some great cosmic doer of justice out there. But in my heart and in my mind, I know that is not the case. So I have to make my peace with that. So I don't have very many moments like that, but I could see people having moments like that. And sometimes they're just hoping, they're just sort of, taking a shot in the dark and hoping, something happens. They're hoping for a miracle. Atheists sometimes feel like they need miracles. Atheists get sick. Atheists suffer, too, just like Christians do. And at the end of the day, you just want to be healed or fixed, and you don't care where the healing or the fix comes from. So if I'm wrong, that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm wrong.
All right, yep.
Okay, I don't want to bring the mood down or anything, but I genuinely wonder, does the thought of death frighten you? Just knowing that, because, for you, for your perspective, death would just be not existing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So does that idea frighten you?
I was dead for billions of years before I was born, and I have not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. And I think when I die, it will not inconvenience me in any way, because I will simply cease to exist. So on that level, I'm not afraid of dying, and I'm certainly not afraid of hell, because to me it doesn't exist. I'm not afraid of hell any more than you are afraid of the Aztec afterlife. Anybody here terrified of the Aztec afterlife? No, and I am not either. And so that part does not cause me fear. However, I do fear missing out. I know that when I go, perhaps sooner than later, who knows, but when I go, I will not see my loved ones. I will miss those people. I will not see how the future turns out. Whatever series I am binge watching on HBO or Netflix, I may not get to see the end of that. You know, there will be no more good times with friends. So that part of me is sad because I know that I will miss those things. And I would like to see those things. I'd like to see how the future turns out. What do we do next? Where does humanity go from here? Do we go back to the moon? Do we make it to Mars? Do we go amongst the stars or what? You know, what happens to my children? You know, I have these questions and I'll be cut off from those answers once I go. But as far as being afraid of going to hell or anything like that, I do not. And I know that's not really your question, but I do not have that concern. So,
Cool.
good
Yeah.
questions. I'm impressed.
This one might be more of like an opinion, but what do you think of scientists out there that believe in everything that science has proven, but that are also Christians?
Good. I thought you were going a different direction with it. There's a thing called scientism or whatever out there. Not Scientology. And Scientology is completely different. And I've been to Clearwater, Florida. I know several Scientologists, actually. I know some Scientologists, and I've actually been to Clearwater, Florida, nice place. Have not dabbled in Scientology, but that's a completely different thing, so I don't want to go into that. I don't want to speak for them. Scientism is where you use science to explain absolutely everything, and you kind of carry it on a little too far, sort of a layman's explanation of it. And that's a logical fallacy. That's a pitfall. But you're asking me about what about these scientists who are also Christian? And that's very interesting to me, too, because there are scientists who are also Muslim, scientists who are Jewish. In fact, there's a guy from MIT, his name is Jeremy England. I understand he is an Orthodox Jew, but he has handed to atheists a new theory of life, which may explain abogenesis, which is how does life arise from non-living things? And he's actually come up with a very simple and elegant hypothesis that is, it's in the process of being tested. But it may revolutionize that discussion on the same level as Darwin's theory of natural selection. I'm curious about those people. All I can say is people are human. And when we adopt a religious belief or a philosophy, we're doing so because it does something for us. We get something out of it. We get a feeling of community. We get a sense of purpose. We know our place in the universe. It gives us some sense of control over things that are around us because we can pray, we can ask for a miracle or a favor from God, or whatever it may be. So I don't know why they are Christians. I imagine it's a highly personal question. I don't want to assume and say that most scientists are atheists. I know that many scientists are. However, there are many scientists who are also Christian. Also, science is a very broad category of subjects. You can study biology or botany and be considered a scientist. You could study climate and be considered a scientist. And none of those really get into the deeper questions which are about God. I know quite a bit about global warming, and I've been in many discussions, and I've talked to many people in the field, including critics who are also Christian, who may or may not believe in global warming as a phenomenon. And they are scientists, and some of them are Christians, and they have a wide range of opinions. And so I think it gets to what you were saying, is it's kind of an individual opinion thing. So people believe for personal reasons.
Come on. What's your name?
All right. Well, okay. My name is
What's your name?
Mark.
Hey, Mark, how you doing? That's a cool name.
Good. Thank you.
I like all your names. I
Thank
must
you.
like you guys. Hey,
Thank
there we
you.
go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, my question, I think you probably answer it because I think she asked it, Alexis.
Sure.
But what do you believe in? Just you, like, after you die? Because for us, we believe in heaven. Like, what do you believe in?
Well, I believe I feed the flowers. That's really it. I will pass away, and that will be the end of it. I will either be buried or cremated or what have you. And the atoms that make my body have existed since the Big Bang. I am made up of atoms that were created 13.7 billion years ago, and so are you. And these atoms were created in the Big Bang, and they were fused together in the hearts of stars that were going supernova. You and I all, literally, the heavier materials, heavier than hydrogen and basically iron and calcium in our bones, is actually forged in the heart of a star. The atoms that make you who you are were formed 13.7 billion years ago. They went through a process of being smashed together, fused together, and created heavier elements. And now they've come together for a temporary time, for a moment, inside you, and they have become conscious. And when we pass away, those atoms will continue to be part of the universe. So the material that makes you who you are has already been on this amazing, epic, stellar journey. You literally stepped out of a supernova, every single one of you. To me, that's an incredible fact. And when we are gone, those atoms will continue to play a role in the universe, however small it may be. But that's all that happens. So I don't believe in an afterlife or anything, but the energy and the matter that make me Marshall and make you Mark will continue to exist long after we are gone.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
My name's Christina.
Hi, Christina. That's a cool name, too.
Thank
Just
you.
kidding, Cliche. I need a new line, but I do.
Okay,
You're awesome.
I was wondering what you were going to say when I started, when I told you my name. Anyway, I hope I can articulate this question right, but the fact that, how do you reconcile the fact that your entire belief system, your religion, is based off of the fact that there is no God, when it would take the credibility of there being a God in order for you to deny the God? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Okay.
I'm trying to
Like,
process the
yeah.
logic,
Yeah.
which you can't
Like
deny
if-
there's a God unless there's a God.
Exactly.
That may be one of the savviest questions asked yet. It's not a new question. It's an old question. It's been around. I need to think about how I want to reply to that. One of the things that I want to answer first is you mentioned that my atheism is a religion. It is not a religion, at least not in my opinion. I will say that I don't believe it is a religion. To me, atheism is a religion like off is a television channel, or like bald is a hair color. It's just not. It's the off position rather than one of the many channels. I do not know exactly how to answer your question, but it does sound to me like circular reasoning, that the question presupposes the answer. So to me, it sounds like a logical fallacy. I will have to look it up, I guess, and come up with a better answer. And I cannot offer you a better one, but I am fairly certain from the sound of the question, the way it works, is it presupposes its own conclusion. And therefore, it's a logical fallacy. It's an error in thinking. It's a good question, however, and it will stump many atheists. But I am 100% certain it's a circular reasoning.
I'd like to maybe offer a thought, because there may be the difference between, are you an atheist or an anti-theist? And I think her question might, if you were an anti-theist, that question would show the logical fallacy in that belief. So maybe explain the difference
between theist and anti-theist?
Yes.
Good. I went through that phase, by the way. There was a phase I went through when, religion had to be destroyed. It's like Carthago delinda est. Every speech I would stand up. There was this Roman senator who would stand up before the Roman Senate and say, Carthago delinda est, which means Carthage must be destroyed during the Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage. And I was like that. Every conversation I had with people, every Facebook post, I think Scott may have even unfollowed me or whatever that was back then, because I was militant atheist, and it was like a religion to me. And I wasn't just atheist, I was anti-theist.
What's the fallacy in that?
Well, I think the fallacy is that religion does a lot of good. Religion is not just doing bad. I mean, to me, a lie is a lie no matter how sweet it is. And if a lie is inherently bad, we shouldn't be perpetuating it. And to me, that's religion. We should not be filling people's minds with lies, because that distorts your view of the world and the universe. It makes you approach problems from a different perspective that is not accurate. And as a result, you are more likely to make a poor decision. One way we see this is, again, you look at global warming, and there was a senator who said, global warming can't be real because God said he wouldn't wipe out the world with a flood. And talking about sea level rise as a byproduct of global warming, which is just, to me, asinine, that somebody would even make such a statement. But that's what religion does. So for an anti-theist would seize upon that and say, we must destroy religion. However, when you look at religion, first of all, it seems to be integral. We're hardwired for religion. We are literally hardwired to believe in something greater than ourselves. Even Neanderthal man, they believe, practiced some form of religion because Neanderthal ritually buried their dead. Why would they do that unless they had some belief in an afterlife or that it had some cosmic significance? So religion has done a lot of good. Religion has given us philosophy. It has given us science. Science and philosophy are born from religion. Religion has given us the modern university system. It has given us many great thinkers and great discoveries. And today, I mean, how many of you have gone out there, and you don't have to raise your hand, but how many of you have gone out there and helped your neighbor because of your faith? You know, how many of you have participated in food drives and clothing drives and helped other people? How many people does religion help become clean and sober? How many people does religion put its arm around and say, someone loves you when you're in that moment of sadness and need? Religion does a lot of good for a lot of people. There's a lot of charitable work, a lot of good. So to be anti-theist is just as extreme as being, anti-atheist.
I think in regards to your question, which was kind of how can you say there is no God by the question saying you're already acknowledging the existence of a God by saying you have to disprove it. The logical fallacy of anti-theists in the difference, I guess the best way is the difference between there's not enough evidence of God and there is no God. What's the logical fallacy difference in those?
You're claiming to know something that you can't possibly know. There are atheists out there who will say there is absolutely no God. And I went through a phase when I was like that. But here's one of the cool things is I'm actually more agnostic when it comes to the question of whether or not there is a God, but I am definitely atheist in your religion. And I will say that to anybody who has a religion. I will say I am agnostic on the question of whether or not a God exists, but I am atheist in your religion without question. And agnosticism has to do with knowledge. And the thing is, I have no knowledge of what came before the Big Bang or what exists outside the universe. In fact, you can argue there is no such thing as before the Big Bang because time is a dimension of this universe. Time did not exist before this universe existed, so there is no before. So if I were to say that this universe could not have possibly been created by God, then I am claiming to have knowledge that I cannot possibly have. I am certainly lying to you. And to me, it's the same as a Christian who says, I am absolutely 100% certain that the God of the Christian exists. It's also the same kind of knowledge claim which is impossible to have, in my opinion, in my judgment.
You have a question?
So, would you consider yourself agnostic?
No, because I'm super skeptical that a God is the explanation for the universe. I'm super skeptical. However, I cannot be absolutely skeptical or disbelieve absolutely, because then I am committing the same logical fallacy that I just spoke against. So perhaps on a technical level, I am agnostic, but functionally I'm atheist, and I'm certainly atheist in every religion. I don't believe that any of the gods believed in by humans can possibly exist. But I can never rule out the possibility that some supernatural creator is the explanation for the universe, but I really don't think so. Because we have used the supernatural to explain a lot of things in the past, such as where diseases come from, where natural disasters come from, and all of this. And every single mystery throughout history ever solved has always turned out to be not magic. So at that point, I'm very skeptical that it's going to end up being magic. It's never magic. So, we have a question here.
Scotty?
I'm Scotty.
Hi, Scotty. Another
Hi.
cool name. I've got
Thank
a
you.
friend named Scott.
And do I feel sorry for you? Anyway, I had a question. What do you think about Christmas and stuff like that? Do you believe in that kind of stuff?
In what? Christmas. Oh,
Like religious holidays, right? Yeah.
heck yeah, I celebrate Christmas. Are you kidding? Holidays are important. They're an occasion to get together with family and friends and loved ones, and they are important to take a break from work. And you bet I celebrate the holidays. I don't celebrate them, however, as a Christian. I do not necessarily celebrate Festivus, which is the made-up atheist holiday from Seinfeld. But I do that because everybody around me celebrates those holidays. The fact that I celebrate those holidays should not be construed as an endorsement of their religious beliefs. It doesn't mean I believe.
How many of us get
in that
dressed up in
stuff.
Halloween costumes doesn't mean that we believe in Wicca or the
Right. So exactly, yeah. So, you know.
So you guys have this great friendship, this healthy friendship. Do you have any advice for a Christian on how to have that healthy relationship with an atheist? Is it better to leave it alone completely, or is it better to talk about it a lot? Is there a good? How do you guys have this relationship?
I think it's going to be pretty individual.
we both share a similar attitude in like we like to punch and play against each other. So it works out for us to go at it because we know we're still friends in the end. But that's because of our personalities. He was in debate. I probably should have been in debate. I never was, but I really enjoy it.
Would have been a good partner.
Would have been a good. So we enjoy that thing, but that may not be something that you have with that friend. You may have to find another way to, communicate. What do you think?
Well, are you trying to persuade them to be Christian? Are you just trying to navigate some choppy waters, or navigate life? Okay, so this is like maybe a partner. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you
No,
might actually have a good question answer to
Yeah.
this.
Respect one another. Respect one another's opinions and beliefs and ideas. Respect that they probably are not an atheist for a light reason. It is hard to be an atheist. It is expensive to be an atheist. As an atheist, dads do not want you to date their daughters. Your employers may not trust you. Atheists have a lower public opinion than convicted felons. People do not trust atheists. They have an opinion of atheists that atheists are immoral, that we are all axe murderers or something like that. That is certainly not the case, but people do have those ideas. So I would encourage you to respect one another, and whoever this atheist is, they need to let you attend your church services and do your own things. It's important because that's who you are. And if they love you for who you are, and they're not going to put up these boundaries. And they're not going to sit there and constantly say, you just need to read this book by Richard Dawkins. It will totally destroy everything. No, your religious belief matters to you. I would actually be sad if I heard that after this talk or something, one of you became an atheist, because becoming an atheist is not something you do because you want to be what we call an edgelord. You want to be shocking, you want to be amazing or impress people. No, it's a rough thing because your family members start criticizing you. Like my mom and dad, what do you mean you don't believe in God anymore? What does this mean? I heard this. I saw what you posted on Facebook. Okay, delete, But you go through all of this stuff. It is not easy. It's a tough row to hoe. So I guess just kind of respect one another and don't try to go at each other and do your own thing. And when a person is ready to take a step with you, maybe your atheist companion would like to come to church with you, Absolutely. Hey, you're welcome. Why don't you come to church with me? There's nothing wrong with inviting a person to church. Scott has invited me to church, and you know what?
And he's come.
And I've showed up because that's what friends do, right? Friends
I
support
told him I
one
was
another.
teaching at Terrace Campus once, and he showed up and came to church to listen to me preach.
I've been there twice. I
Twice
think.
now, yeah.
Twice. Uh-oh. Look out.
But I know it's not ask a pastor or anything, but I just wanted to chime in on this because on the other side of that, just love them.
Yes.
He knows that I love him.
Yes.
He's my friend. I believe one day there will be a payoff for that. He'll know of the care and where that comes from, and he'll recognize what is inside of me and why that's drawing me there to that. But if I can't force, I can't put down, just love.
Yeah.
Just love.
There's actually a thing in psychology that if you go directly at a person head on and butt heads with them, it will actually reinforce their beliefs. Even if you come at them with evidence and the most logical and compelling arguments, the fact that you are hitting them head on rhetorically will actually cause them to double down on their wrong beliefs, which is insane, right? It's completely illogical, but that's how the brain works. And scientists and behavioral scientists have worked to kind of explain this, and they think it has some sort of a tribal thing. It comes from our tribal ancestry, where it helps us to maintain loyalty to the tribe, where that's more important than assimilating new information or evidence, because we were tribal and the tribe mattered, and that was how you survived. But regardless of the scientific explanation, the more you argue with somebody, the more you're entrenching them in the belief you'd rather they come away from. So the way to connect with a person is not to hit them head on, but to, as Scott said, love them. Put your arm around them, and eventually, in their own way, in their own time, they may or may not come around. But if you go head on with them, I guarantee you they will not come around.
A couple more questions?
Hello, I'm back. Hopefully with not a fallacy question.
No, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with the question you asked. I thought that was a good question. And while I recognize it was a fallacy, I think it's a fair question. And I'm going to have to look some stuff up. I think you did a good job.
Good. I'm glad I challenged you.
You did.
So my second question is, what has allowed you to maintain such a close relationship with someone that believes so differently from you? What has allowed you to maintain such a close relationship and value of your friend here? Pastor, sorry.
The ribs on 4th of July and the chicken
sure helped
burrito
out.
I just ate, right? Yeah, the food.
It's all about money.
And we live next to each other. I think there's some cosmic coincidence there.
Good. Yeah, he calls it a coincidence. I lived by Fairfax and Auburn, Fairfax and College up there, and he lived by Fairfax and 178 for many years, and he moved to City in the Hills, and then I moved all the way over to Harris and Buena Vista on the complete opposite corner of the town. And about a year later, he said, yeah, I moved too. I go, what's your address? He gives me his address. I look it up. It is 4 streets away from my house.
You're like 100 yards from me as the crow flies.
Yeah. So, and he says it's a coincidence.
Right. I have a need to feel loved, as everybody else does here. We all have the need to feel loved and cared for and respected. And a person who loves me and cares for me and respects me, even if they have a different religious belief or a different political affiliation, I am going to naturally be drawn to that personality. And so what has allowed my friendship with Scott to flourish despite our differences is that we know those differences are sort of at the skin level, but underneath the skin is a genuine and loving heart that I am always drawn towards. And that's the same with anybody else in my life. I am drawn towards the people who love me, and the people who I love are naturally drawn towards me. And hey, if there's any evidence for the Christian God, that might be it right there.
Wow. Is there another question? Any more? All right, we'll do here. You have a question?
We've got a few. I don't have a curfew. I'm grown up.
We're just hitting near the 45-minute of our normal show, but maybe we can break it up.
Yep.
We'll do what we have to, but we'll just keep on going. As
I wanna
long as
get
you
to
guys want to
everybody
be
who has a
here.
question.
Well, have you and Scott actually had any sort of It's actually a question for both of you. Have you guys had any sort of heated discussions on your talk show?
Yes, one of
He-
the very
He brought boxing gloves.
yeah, one of the early ones. We did bring some boxing gloves. That's kind of a funny thing. It has gotten. If you go back and if you watch them, we're like 30. I think we did episode 32
Yeah, it's
today
like
or something like
episode
that.
4 or 5.
There were some ones where it gets.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like my son will produce and he'll be over there like, and there's been a few times like, I thought you guys were not going to be friends after this. And it's the weirdest thing because, again, we enjoy that kind of thing. We enjoy the debate and we will go at it. I will interrupt him. I will
I hate that, but you
badger
do it.
him. I will bulldoze over him. I will throw things back in his face. He'll roll his eyes. And and then at the very end, everybody's like, and anybody watching is like, what just happened? We're like, all right, see you next week. Dude, that was a great discussion, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and there's
we
been a
do that
few
every
times when
time.
you've been like, are you
Yep.
okay, Scott?
There was that one time.
Yeah.
There was that one
There was
time.
where
yeah.
he thought that I was really like you. I literally had to like call him later. There's been several times where I've had to apologize to him on the show. But no, but again, that's our personality. We go at it intellectually,
Yes.
but it doesn't change. And this is the biggest thing that I want to get out with anybody watching is it doesn't change that he's a human being that I care for.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to prove him wrong in his thinking. I'm trying to show why his logic is not working and where his line of thought leads and why it's wrong. And I'm trying to convince him of that. He's trying to do the same to me. But in the end, I don't think he's evil or stupid. He's still my friend. So we will go at it ideologically, but knowing it's just so easy to go on the internet or go and say those same things and think that person's an idiot.
Facebook. Yeah.
Say those things, to say those same arguments with the same passion, but while thinking the other person is just evil. And of course they're stupid and evil. And I can't think that way of my friend, but I can still passionately argue my position. And yes, if you go back and watch some of those episodes, there's been some very, very heated discussions. And those are, some of my favorite.
Yeah. Well, think of a boxing ring, right? We're
Yeah.
sparring. We're literally
We're sparring, yeah.
And when we're done sparring, the gloves come off and we're friends.
Yep.
So there you go. Awesome.
Oh, my name's Marissa. This is really
Hi, Marissa. I don't bite. Only on Sundays.
okay. Like okay. So I myself am an atheist as well, and I have been for about 10 years. And I was
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
Yeah, live long and prosper, right? Yeah.
I was just wondering, how do I ask this? How was your family situation? Because you had said that you were brought up to be like a Catholic in your family, and you had questions, and you were very angry with God at the time. And I was just wondering, how did you cope with all of that in your family? How did they react to it as well?
Good. I was brought up Catholic. My parents were not particularly involved in the faith. I, on the other hand, really got into it. I got into it intellectually. I was very upset because I took catechism classes on weeknights, and those classes all consisted of the same lesson. Don't do drugs, don't have sex before marriage, and here's how to pray the rosary. And boy, did that bore me to no end, because I knew, even as a young man, that the Catholic Church has a very deep and rich tradition. And it was something I really wanted to explore. I really wanted to delve into that faith. And I did so, but on my own time. Catechism didn't do it for me. But I got very much into the faith. My father was actually raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I persuaded him to go through what's called the Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults, which is a series of classes you have to take in order to become a Catholic as an adult. He completed those classes and was baptized as a Catholic. And so at that time, I was very much into the church. I met and married a Catholic woman. We moved in together after we were married. We did most everything by the book. And I went to church faithfully, and I participated very faithfully in my faith. And then I went through a period in my life where I suffered tremendously, physically and mentally and spiritually, and I no longer had the right answers, and everything began to fall apart. My marriage fell apart and came to an end. My personal life came to a shambles. I basically turned into a train wreck. Now, I did not turn to drugs or alcohol, but my life literally did do what a train does when it wrecks. And it was very hard on my family. It wasn't just hard on me, but it was hard on people around me. When I came to atheism, it was like a spiritual awakening for me. So, like when some people become born-again Christians and they have a new life and a new outlook and everything, atheism did that for me. Even though it's not a religion, it took the place of a religion in my heart. And I went through an anti-theist period, and that was very hard on my family relationships because I literally had to ban my parents from asking me about that stuff. I said, don't even bring it up. I don't want to talk about it. And part of my concern was I actually didn't want to turn my parents into atheists. Both of them at the time were very elderly. My dad has since passed on. My mom is now 84. I do not want these people to become atheists. I don't want them to lose their faith, which gives them comfort and explanation. I don't want them to lose that. So I don't want to talk about atheism with these people, because what if I do put that one question in their mind? What if I plant that magical seed, and then here you are, 84, 85 years old, and now you're an atheist? What does that do? Because it put me into quite a tailspin. It really did. And I don't want to do that to other people. So even though I believe I'm right, I am very reluctant to get that into that with people. It's very hard. And you may know yourself as an atheist. You probably have had some rough and rocky family experiences. So it wasn't super bad in my family where I was ostracized or cast out. I know that some atheists have put up with that, where parents will no longer talk to them. I know marriages certainly end over it. But I kind of had an easier time in terms of family and friends. I did drive away some friends. I do have some friends who are not my friends anymore because of my atheism. And I wish they'd come back because I've toned it down a lot. I went from 11 on the dial to a 1. So in some ways my experience was very hard, but in other ways it wasn't as bad. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. Hope that answers your question.
Oh, is there another question?
My name is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
I was wondering if there was any part in your journey where you might have thought that every Christian or every Muslim or everyone in any type of religion was the same.
The same. I try not to regard people by a lot. I don't judge people by the lot, because you have to take all people as individuals. Anybody who judges by a group is committing a logical fallacy called a hasty generalization, and you're a dimwit if you do that. Everybody is unique. There are good Christians and there are bad Christians, in my opinion. And there are good atheists, and there are some very bad people who are atheists too. I've never regarded all people as the same in any way, shape, or form. All people are individuals. So I'm not sure if you meant something else by the same, but I've never regarded people as a monolithic group, except for maybe Republicans. Never mind. But I'm kidding.
It might just kind of be a repeat or a twist on what you're saying. I'm not sure if this is more maybe
Totally
what you meant.
fair.
I think my question more is, do you ever see every different religion as just being, that's religion? Either it's religious or it's not, or do you see a difference? Because I was raised Catholic, and then I went into an atheist period, because for Catholics, they mumbled up there. I had no idea what the
It's
pastor
hard
was
to
saying.
connect with the Catholic
It
faith.
is. It's very hard.
Which it's designed to be the opposite, but
Right.
they don't teach it so that it makes sense,
And as a
which
kid,
is the problem.
you're just bored most of the
If
time.
you understand the logic behind it, you can really get into it,
Yeah,
but they
I
don't
bet.
teach the logic. So
Yeah. And so then I went atheist, and then recently became a Christian. And so do you have any feelings about this individual religions, not just, or do you see it all as either religious or not religious?
For the past probably 2 years, I've been a moderator and an admin of a Facebook group with about, I think, between 15 and 20,000 members. And it's a theist versus atheist group. And it's become a troll group for the most part. So good job on me for moderating, right? But it's a troll group. But
It's all those memes you keep posting. It's your fault.
right? But at the time, certainly a year ago or so, it was a very robust debate group, and it was international. So there were people from a lot of different religions. There were Buddhists, there were Hindus. I've made good friends with one who is a Hare Krishna. Never met him in person, but obviously Facebook friends. And Muslims and all of that. And one of the things I have learned is a lot of religions have the same apologetics. They have the same rationales for justifying why they believe. It's the same between Muslims and Christians and so on. They often make a lot of the same arguments, but instead of saying God, they'll say Allah, but it's the same. All of those traditions are very rich, and nobody believes what they believe for some silly reason. There are people who are just, I was just brought up this way, but none of the people in any of those discussion groups, for the most part, were that way because they were simply raised that way. They actually had justifications for their beliefs. If you ask them, why do you believe this, they could explain it. People who follow religion are not dumb. There are some very smart people who believe in God or Allah or the Hindu gods or so on. And they're every bit as intelligent as I am. And there are some dumb atheists out there, by the way. So are they all the same? They're culturally different. They're different in many ways, but they're certainly all almost equally as deep and equally as rich. So I'm not going to put down all of religion or any particular religion. So that's kind of my response to that.
But they all seem to make the same logical fallacies.
They
in your
do.
opinion.
They make the same apologetics even. They use the same arguments. I've found Hindus and Muslims have near-death experiences too. It's not just a Christian phenomenon. And when these people have near-death experiences, though, they interpret the experience through the lens of their religion and their faith. Whereas we interpret it through, I saw the bright light and there was Jesus, or there was my loved ones. Well, they will have a similar experience, but it will be expressed in a way that makes sense to them. So, in their religious tradition. So, yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, my name's Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa.
So this one is more personal, but you said that you went from being angry to just being atheist, more at peace, it sounds. And because I used to be atheist in high school, when I went through the transition,
Good.
what gave me peace was finding Christ. So what was it that changed your outlook on it? Was it somebody who, like Scott, was just being open and friendly? Was it just a maturity phase? What was it?
I learned that it's fun to have friends. I want to be loved, right? It's that primal human need. Scott actually is a big part of it. Scott really is. And our show is just the flowering or the fruition of the journey that I've been on and the realization that Christians are not bad people. Theists are not bad people. It's illogical to be anti-theist, in my opinion. There's a lot of good in religion, and there's a lot of good in people of faith. And if I go around like a big, mean, evil atheist stomping every single Christian, so it's like stepping on the flowers in somebody's garden. Really? Why? And so I kind of gradually came to that realization, partly because I had friends not be my friends anymore, because they would say, all you do is talk about atheism. Well, it's not different than a born-again Christian who becomes born again and all they talk about is Jesus. It's a phase you go through because it's something new. It's like being in a new relationship. I don't want to see your Instagram when you become, get into a new relationship. I just don't, okay, because I know what it's going to be, right? And it's the same way. I kind of, got into a relationship with absolutely nothing whatsoever, and that was all I could talk about for about a year or two, and it alienated a lot of people. And I realized, I don't know when, there's no moment where I had the epiphany, but I realized over time that was simply not how to be. I like having friends, so I chilled it out. And when I chilled out, I became open to the love and the warmth and the kindness. And my friends like Scott were welcome, and I've benefited from those friendships. And so I think I just figured out a better path.
All right. We'll here and here. No, you're okay. Okay.
So for people with religion like Christianity, obviously we find it really easy to create a community. Do you think that atheists create communities? Like, do you go to like atheist like chats and mingle?
The answer is yes. Several years ago, probably, 7 or 8 years ago, I started with a friend of mine the Atheist Society of Kern. At that time, it was called the Kern Atheist Society. They changed the name to make it, the acronym say ASK instead of KAS. Now it's ASK, ASK. It is a Facebook community, and it was basically our attempt at atheist church. Now, there were no rituals or anything. We didn't get together and pray to nothing. What we did was we would get together on a Sunday, usually around lunchtime, and it would just be a potluck, and we'd just hang out. So it filled that need, that niche that we had to get together and be social. Now, I no longer participate in that community. I am in the Facebook group. The community is largely defunct, but it does exist, at least in Facebook form. I know on rare occasion, maybe once or twice a year, somebody in the community will say, hey, we're having a gathering, and certain people, the same 12 people will show up. But that's what's become of it. There are atheist churches, and again, they're not dedicated to any kind of ritual worship of nothingness or Richard Dawkins or anything else. But they do get together because as humans, we have a need for community, and that's probably one of the things I've repeated in tonight's presentation is I want to feel loved, and so do atheists. Atheists may sometimes be angry people because they are going through a lot, and they also catch a lot of flack. And there's a lot of reasons. It's very easy to be angry when you're an atheist, to look out in the world and think, well, if not for religion, this would be better. If not for religion, that would be better. So it's very easy to be an angry atheist, but atheists need to feel love too. And so one of the ways we've tried to get that love is to form, communities. So there are atheist churches. There are none technically in Bakersfield that I know of. There are some in other large cities and communities around the world. But yeah, maybe part of the reason why I'm here tonight is I just want to feel the love. And I'm grateful that all of you folks are sending it to me now. I do feel it, and it does move me with compassion, and it makes little tears want to well up in my eyes, but I'm not going to cry on camera. But I do feel the love and the appreciation, and I am very grateful to all of you.
Well, you have one more?
Awesome.
All right, here we go.
Here's the big one. We're getting baptized after this.
All right, I'm sorry, this totally isn't a question. I just think we all wanted to thank you so much for answering our questions. And so I just wanted to make sure one of us, I don't see where Alyssa went. So I wanted to make sure one of us thanked you as well so much for being here and having your compassion for us as well.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for joining us on our show. We're going to hang out a little bit. We're going to close out our show right now, but I don't think he's not going to run away from you guys if you have any more personal questions to ask of him, stuff like that. But hey, catch us on Kerncast. What's that?
A valid answer.
A valid answer on kerncast.com every Sunday night at 5. You can search for us on Valid Answer on Facebook, and also check out, go to iTunes, and you can follow our podcast, The Valid Answer, and we add those each week. But until next time, we'll catch you guys later. See you around.
Thank you.